If you know only one thing about psychopaths, is that they cannot feel remorse. It's not like they feel remorse and then check themselves. They cannot feel remorse. That part of their brain is just missing. It's bad wiring. How do you know you have a psychopath on your hands? Well, one of my theories about workplace bullying is that it is a form of narcissistic abuse, so all workplace bullies are narcissists, or at the very least have some very narcissistic tendencies, which they have to have in order to be able to bully in the first place. When workplace bullies enjoy the suffering of their targets, then their narcissism has evolved into straight up full-blown psychopathy, otherwise known as antisocial personality disorder. And unfortunately, there are plenty of psychopaths in the workplace, especially psychopathic men. In addition to the lack of remorse, psychopathy is characterized by this willful and reckless disregard for the rights and safety of others and for social norms. It's also characterized by aggressiveness, irritability, irresponsibility, impulsivity, and pathological lying. Like narcissists, psychopaths are manipulative, egocentric, and superficial, and lack empathy. They are motivated by the 3 P's, power, profit, and pleasure, and get a thrill from getting away with stuff. Psychopathy looks a lot like malignant narcissism, and there's plenty of that in the workplace too. How do you know you're dealing with a psychopathic man in the workplace? First of all, psychopathic man is really sexually inappropriate. I've often wondered if sexual harassment is a form of workplace bullying, and I've come to the conclusion that it is. Psychopathic man likes to make really inappropriate, totally unfunny sexual jokes and make sexual noises and comments at his women coworkers' expense. Sexual harassment varies by degrees, and psychopathic man may go so far as to break the law and publicly expose himself to clients or coworkers. However, one of the points I make about sexual harassment is that, like sexual assault, it has nothing to do with sex, and I think the terminology needs to be changed. Sexual harassment is not an attraction, it's a power trip. Studies have shown that the reason that men sexually harass in the workplace is because of something that I'm going to call feared incompetence. The workplace sexual harasser fears looking bad vis-a-vis the target, and in his sheer and utter literal-mindedness simply latches on to the most obvious difference between them, which is gender, and uses that as a weapon against her. Ultimately, sexual harassment in the workplace has nothing to do with sex and everything to do with what workplace bullying is always about, and that is the bully's insecurity. When psychopathic man is not busy sexually harassing his women colleagues, he is rudely dismissive of them and of women in general. Listen carefully to how psychopathic man speaks about the women in his life, his mother, sisters, wife, even his own daughters, and of women in general, like public figures like the AOC, for example, and then brace yourself for the blatant misogyny and callous disregard. His interactions with women in the workplace are not much better. Psychopathic man looks like he's almost in pain when forced to interact with women in the workplace, and will rudely dismiss them at every opportunity, even openly in public meetings, for example. Psychopathic man treats women this way because he really, really, really believes that women are inferior. The only woman that psychopathic man can tolerate in the workplace is one who is just as misogynistic as he is. Yes, women can be misogynist too. The misogynistic woman is a great gift for psychopathic man because she's doing half of his work for him. She already hates herself, which is exactly what psychopathic man wants and likes to see in all women. It's a projection. Like two thieves, psychopathic man and misogynistic woman can collude in the workplace bullying technique of gossip, always at the target's expense, which is usually another woman. And like all workplace bullying gossip, that gossip is not only out in the open, but also at the company's expense on company time and company pay. Just as psychopathic man is dismissive of women, he is dismissive in general. He is superficial and shallow and brushes everything off with humor. Yes, psychopathic man prides himself on his sense of humor. He thinks he is the funniest guy in the room. It is his narcissistic supply. It's just one sarcastic quip after another. There's only one problem. It's not funny. Psychopaths and narcissists are supposed to be characterized by this sort of glib, superficial charm, but if you're like me, you don't find anything at all about it very charming. Another one of my theories about workplace bullying is that most often the target of workplace bullying is an empath, or at the very least a highly sensitive person. It's always the most sensitive child in the family who gets abused the most, and it's always the most sensitive person in the workplace who gets bullied the worst. And empaths have the world's best nonsense detectors. If you are sensitive to other people's energies, you don't find anything charming about psychopaths, narcissists, or workplace bullies. You're not feeling it, you're thoroughly unimpressed and uninspired, but some of your less evolved colleagues may actually fall for it. Psychopathic man's sense of humor is a defense. He would rather crack unfunny jokes than, God forbid, experience real emotional intimacy with another human being, above all, a woman. Narcissists and psychopaths are defined by superficiality, and they're also defined by rage. Psychopathic man is one of the worst perpetrators of the workplace bullying technique of physical violence, which is the passive-aggressive expression of his pent-up rage. Don't get me wrong, when I say physical violence, I'm not talking about real physical violence, which does not happen in the workplace. Physical violence, along with yelling, is one of those workplace bullying techniques that people who don't know very much about workplace bullying automatically think of when they think about workplace bullying. When people who don't know very much about workplace bullying think of workplace bullying, often the first image that comes to mind is of this sort of aggressive monster calling on the carpet his quivering codependent subordinate and yelling at her. Workplace bullies may be completely lacking in any sort of spiritual knowledge or awareness, otherwise known as wisdom, but they are not stupid. They will never do or say anything that will get them into trouble, get them fired, or worse, get them arrested. So all the yelling and the screaming and the physical violence that people normally associate with workplace bullying simply does not happen. And yet workplace bullies find ways to be physically violent all day, every day, especially psychopathic man, who likes to engage in these passive-aggressive expressions of his explosive rage with behaviors like slamming doors and drawers shut and banging on physical objects to get the target's attention. It's very mature behavior. Part of the workplace bullying technique of physical violence is not only making loud noises, but also boundary violations, including inappropriate touching and space invasion. And psychopathic man is a major boundary violator. Psychopathic man likes to touch people, and he likes to touch their things without permission or consent. You may notice that psychopathic man cannot interact with another human being without putting his nasty hands all over that person. Again, without permission or consent. It's interesting that someone who is so morbidly afraid of emotional intimacy has no problem with physical intimacy, which is the only way that narcissists and psychopaths can connect with other human beings. This touching thing, too, is sexually inappropriate and also a form of sexual harassment. Like all boundary-violating bullies in the workplace, psychopathic man tries to excuse his inappropriate touching as just his warm and caring nature. But if you are an empath or a highly sensitive person, you know darn well that there is absolutely nothing warm and caring about psychopathic man's touch. Like everything else about him, it is absolutely disgusting. It's just his energy. Psychopathic man also likes to further invade and violate your personal and physical boundaries by standing uncomfortably closely and even going so far as to enter your personal workspace. Finally, when psychopathic man is not banging on objects to get your attention, touching your personal physical body without your consent or permission, and violating your physical and personal boundaries, again, without your consent or permission. He likes to touch and move your things, again, without your consent or permission, not because he needs them, but for the same reason that all workplace bullies bully, and that is to upset you and get a reaction out of you. Psychopathy or antisocial personality disorder and narcissistic personality disorder are often comorbid or concomitant with other mental illnesses, especially addictions. And psychopathic man is an addict. If psychopathic man is going out of his way to hide his raging addictions, he's not doing a very good job. You may notice that psychopathic man does not eat any food at all during the day and instead drinks coffee all day, sometimes until well late into the evening. Classic characteristics of alcoholics. Go to any AA meeting and you'll see a bunch of people sitting around drinking coffee until late in the evening. It's the only drug that recovering addicts have left. When psychopathic man is less careful, he just straight up drinks during the workday, taking lunches and walks away from the workplace in order to take swigs from the flask in his car, and when he returns, you could strike a match in the fumes. In addition to smelling of alcohol, psychopathic man often reeks of smoke and sometimes goes so far as to smoke inside the workplace, which is illegal. Psychopaths don't care about social norms and rules and get a thrill out of flouting them. They think they are above them and feel powerful when they can violate and break the rules. You can see psychopathic man grin with the gleeful delight of a 3-year-old child when he knows that he's getting away with something. Drinking and smoking on the job are psychopathic man's dirty little secret from which he derives a sense of power. Other psychopaths and narcissists in the workplace may have more hardcore drug addictions, and the worst of them mix alcohol with prescription medication, which you're not supposed to do. You can tell because they get this particularly hard, glinting, beady look in their eyes. Psychopathic man's thrill at getting away with stuff is his entitlement. Like all narcissists, psychopathic man is entitled. He feels entitled to behavior that is not only immoral and unethical, but maybe even also illegal, like cheating the company out of money. He likes to do things like put his feet up on his desk and spread out, displaying the soles of his shoes directly in the faces of his paying clients, or move and take other people's personal items and possessions without their permission or consent and without saying thank you. Psychopathic man doesn't feel the need to express gratitude because, again, he's entitled. Psychopathic man feels entitled because he is enabled. As sick and disgusting as he is on every level, psychopathic man is consistently enabled by everyone in the workplace, above all management, to the point that he is the last man standing. A workplace bullying environment is like the Agatha Christie novel, And Then There Were None, like rats leaving a sinking ship, because when the proverbial stuff hits the fan, everybody gets dirty. It gets to the point that the only people left are the narcissists and their enablers, to the point that the people in charge wake up one day and go, "What just happened?" Nobody has the power to clear the place out better than psychopathic man. When the dust settles, he will always be the last one left. He makes a point of it. A huge part of narcissistic abuse is financial abuse, and narcissists are famously financially irresponsible. That's why psychopathic man cheats, steals, and embezzles money out of the company by invoicing hours that he didn't work, for example. You may notice that psychopathic man works well into his 60s, well past the age of retirement, when he should be retired but can't be, not because he enjoys working, but because he has to. He's never been able to sustain or maintain a stable long-term employment history, and that's because he has a history of the same disgusting behavior in a string of previous workplaces. You may hear mention of where psychopathic man worked before, which may be a better job with better pay, hours, and benefits, and wonder why he doesn't work there anymore. But don't wonder for too long. Another one of my theories about workplace bullying is that it is an addiction. Workplace bullies are addicted to bullying, and they are addicted to the target. Although the ultimate goal of workplace bullying is to eliminate the target from the workplace, when workplace bullies do that, they are like addicts who just flushed all their drugs down the toilet, and they have no choice but to find a new source of supply. You are not the only person that they treat like this. You are not the only person that psychopathic man treats like this. He's done it before and he'll do it again, just in different workplaces. Psychopathic man chews up and spits out jobs like he chews up and spits out his victims. Narcissists and workplace bullies ruin everything for everyone, not just the target. A narcissistic partner will try to destroy not only his wife, but also any relationships that she tries to have. Psychopathic man's presence in the workplace alone, it has a devastating effect on the entire workplace, not just the target. As much as he is consistently enabled, especially by management, no one can actually stay on psychopathic man. When psychopathic man comes around, everyone kind of internally groans and goes, yuck, so-and-so is here. And it's not his behavior, it's just his energy. His energy alone is sick, disgusting, ugly, nasty, evil, and vile. Another one of my theories about workplace bullying is that it is spiritual warfare happening on an energetic level. It's all about energy. Psychopathic man leaves in his wake this decimated, skeleton-like workplace that has been purged and cleansed from the best and most likable workers. Workplace bullying is about eliminating the best and the brightest. When workplace bullies eliminate the target, it's like somebody turned out all the lights, leaving behind a workplace that is sad and empty for everyone who is left. Ultimately, psychopathic man is destructive. He is a destroyer. The opposite of destroyer is creator. Good people are fashioned in the image of God, the creator, and they are creative because the Holy Spirit is creativity. Narcissists, psychopaths, and workplace bullies are destructive. They are not working in the interest of God, but very much in the interest of you-know-who, if you know what I mean. This too is related to drug and alcohol abuse, because that's how you do it. When you do a lot of drugs and alcohol, you exit the body. In fact, that's the whole point of substance abuse, to not be in the body. But when you exit the body, you leave the body open and vulnerable for something unsavory to come in. When it comes to psychopathic man in the workplace, I truly believe that what we're talking about here is not just demonic possession, but straight up full-blown satanic possession. As for why psychopathic man is such a sick, horrifying monster, well, that's easy. He's up to his eyeballs in daddy issues. Psychopathic man has abusive father written all over him. If you listen to psychopathic man talk, you'll notice that he never mentions his father. Instead, it's just all about his mother, for whom he could not exhibit less respect. Psychopathic man grew up with an abusive father that he watched abuse his mother, and now exhibits the same contempt for all women that his father showed for his mother. Just as psychopathic man has contempt for all women, he has contempt for all things feminine, especially emotional vulnerability, which he views as a sign of weakness. Psychopathic man will always target the most emotionally vulnerable person in the workplace. Psychopathic man views his target's ability to be emotionally vulnerable with this snide, sneering, contempt, derision, scorn, and disdain. At the very worst, psychopathic man is a narcissistic misogynist who is trying to punish women for not loving him unconditionally the way that he wanted his mother to. I truly believe that narcissists are asking for the same thing that we all want, and that is unconditional love. The codependent says, if I do this, will you love me? And the narcissist says, will you love me even if I do this? One of you asked me how psychopathic man manages to stay married for so long. Well, that's easy. She's just as nasty as he is. So that's a summary of the psychopathic man in the workplace. If you have any ideas for other video topics, please let me know in the comments section below. I hope that helps. Take care.